Welcome to the Dripping in Black podcast, where we celebrate Black excellence throughout the Black diaspora. Here's your host, David V. Lewis.
What's up, good people all across the world? This is the Dripping in Black podcast. I am your host, David V. Lewis, and per usual, we have another fantastic guest who represents Black excellence across the Black diaspora. Today's guest is Bryan Walker. Bryan, say hello to the world.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Dripping in Black family.
All right. So Bryan has a unique thing that he does, and we can't wait to share his story. But we always begin by introducing our guests to our audience. We ask them the simple but not so simple question of, who are they? So who is Bryan Walker?
So it's a great question to ask and easy to answer for me. First thing I always throw out there is I'm a dad, which I love being. I'm enjoying fatherhood. Has just been something that to me comes naturally and something that excites me in itself. I'm a husband. I love that too. And I love the challenge of both. So I like being successful in both of those worlds, and everything else to me revolves around that. So the other things that I do contribute to the man that I am, and and ultimately the right man for me is being a strong father and strong husband.
Okay. How many children do you have?
I have 3 beautiful children at home. I have my 2 sons and my daughter. My daughter is 12-year-old. Oh, excuse me. She just turned 13. Her birthday was yesterday.
Wow.
She'll be upset if she saw this wrong. My 8-year-old son and my 5-year-old son. So it's extremely exciting for me.
Okay. And where were you born and raised, Bryan?
Salinas, California. So Salinas, for those who don't know, California is out by Monterey. Monterey is a smaller town with more popularity, but Salinas is a town right outside of it. So.
Okay. And where are you currently located?
I am in beautiful Oakland, California, a town business for those who are following along. And excited to be out here. My wife is born and raised from Oakland, so chased her down, followed her right to the 510. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so this is a good example of how Dripping in Black is expanding, because how did we come to contact one another? I'm not even sure of how that came about.
So we connected a couple of ways. One, I'm always searching for podcasts. I'm a big podcast fan. So I had listened to Dripping in Black podcasts, and through the early stages of our company, started to try to make a connection. And then I think we connected finally by accident in a clubhouse room. Was when we finally actually connected. I said, hey, and you were saying, I'm interested in what you're doing. I said, I'm interested in what you do, and so that's how we finally made the full bond. But I had already been a little bit aware of Dripping in Black. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you connected then with my producer, Sean Smith. He does the clubhouse things, and we got you on. All right. And so the interesting thing that you're doing is called the HBCU Prep School. Let's talk about that. What is the HBCU Prep School?
Yeah, so HBCU Prep School is a publishing company started by me and my wife. I am the co-founder. She's the other co-founder. So it's something that we did together. It all started from the idea that we don't see enough imagery for our children. When I say our children, I literally mean all of our children. Our Black children do not see enough of themselves in successful roles. I mean, very similar to what you're doing in Dripping in Black. We think it's important that we're portraying people the way that we really are, and a lot of people make it seem like you're a unicorn when you're doing something successful, when that's not true. There's a lot of Black people that are doing great things, the right thing, powerful things that are making a huge impact on the world. So not to be minimized to small cities, we're doing things that are impacting the entire world. And we wanted to make sure we showed that. And so the first step of that was my wife saying that we have these great institutions that are statistically successful, with historically Black colleges and universities. So the first book was the ABCs of HBCUs, which is all about historically Black colleges, universities, Battle of the Bands, all the Divine Nine, the Black Greek fraternities and sorority organizations.
Wow. Okay. All right. And so the HBCU Prep School is a publishing company.
That is correct. And
Right.
So we took that idea and kind of ran with it with some other ideas that match right along with it.
Okay. How many books have you published to date?
So we just finished the full series for the ABCs of HBCUs. That means that we have a book that goes along with it. We have a coloring book that accompanies it. We also have 2 activity books, one for elementary age, one for middle school age. And one of the things that people ask me all the time is, well, what age group is your book geared towards? And we originally thought it was, K through 4, K through 5, kindergarten through 5th grade, obviously some parents want to read to early readers, but we had people telling us, no, this book's great for high school because 2 reasons. One, because it's set up in a very high level way. It used a method called a quatrain poetry method, which is, it's just a special way of doing poetry. Which makes it very popular. But on the other side of it, there's not a lot of media about historically Black college universities that pops off the page like ours does. So there are schools going, wait, create more, do more kind of thing too. So that was our first series. So we have the 2 activity books, coloring book, and the standard book. And then our new book that's going to be coming out in a matter of weeks is the ABCs of Black Wall Street, which will talk about the greatness of what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We focused on that one. We know there were more Black Wall Streets out there, but we focused on that one. We didn't talk about the tragedy because this is geared towards children, but we talked about all the greatness of what was going on in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, we have an area here that was known as Black Bottom and Paradise Valley here in Detroit that falls along in the same line. So, feel free to plug us as well.
Yeah,
this is great, man. So I'm curious, you have this mission now. What drove you to this particular mission, right? This is a nuanced mission to publish books with Black representation. So what was the driving factor to get you to actually carry out this mission?
So my wife's been working on the idea of the ABCs, HBCUs for a couple of years. So when she finished it, it was prior to COVID. And we had talked, and immediately publishing companies were jumping at the opportunity to get their hands on it. And as we took a closer look at it, and not that that's not the right route for everybody to go, but when we looked at it, we decided it wasn't the route we wanted to go. There was a lot of restrictions, a lot of control we had to give away. And my wife's biggest concern was, when would it come out? How long would it take? The delays and things like that. Yeah. So we made the connections to publish it ourselves. So we went out, we're self-published, got them printed, went through a lot of stages of editing and, finding the right illustrators, things like that too, and putting out a product that we're very proud of. And we've only heard positive things about the output what we've gone there. Now, there's definitely some rivalries when you start getting into HBCUs, things like the real HU and so on. But we try to stay neutral on those discussions.
Yeah. So you all have this this niche that you created, and is driven to bring Black representation to a wider audience in a better light, if you will.
Exactly.
And I'm just thinking about, I'm always marveling at how you take an idea and then actually put it into work. So if somebody's watching this, how does one have the idea to start a publishing company? And then, how do you go from the idea to actually making it happen? What are some of those steps that you had to go through to get from idea to actuality?
Well, I'm going to answer it out of order, but I think I need to emphasize on research, because research wasn't the first thing we had to focus on. And even now, we're still researching the way that we're doing our marketing, researching the way that we're getting the word out, right? You're researching the way that we're, laying out our formats of the way things looked, and, the order of products coming out, the website that we used. All those things had a lot to do with research, which is one of the things that in our community is tough, because outside of Black community, a lot of communities have someone to lean on and someone to mentor them. And so connecting with that mentorship, connecting with those opportunities is what we're trying to do a better job of, and we've answered a lot of questions for others that are doing similar things. We know some of them are competitors, but, we want people to be able to excel in this area, because I do want my kids to walk into a library and not struggle to find Black books or it's almost to the point where I wish they weren't called Black books. They should just be books that are including some of the most important people in the world, Black folks, so the other part of that answer that I would put on there too is motivation. Me and my wife specifically talking about the ABCs of HBCUs have different motivation. For her, she's a graduate of Spelman. She grew up here in Oakland, so it ran along her lines to go to an HBCU. She was excited about it. My mother-in-law also went to an HBCU. So she went to Savannah State. So for my wife, it was a normal decision. For me growing up, I went to a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution, and I had a great time at the schools that I went to. But I also know that I had an opportunity to go to some HBCUs, I had as an option, and I was told not to go that route. I was told, you're really smart. You should go to, you should go to a school, a real school, and I didn't know then. Now I'm insulted. My first thought about it when I really realized it was anger, but then now I look back and go, oh my gosh, that person was so misinformed. They don't know that HBCUs are responsible for more than 50% of our doctors, more than 50% of our dentists, more than 50% of our lawyers, and more than 80% of our Black judges. And we're talking about only 107 schools are able to do that, so people are misinformed, and I'm going to try to take the positive route and not be upset, but go, okay, so now it's part of our mission to get the word out, not just to Oakland, but to a smaller town like Salinas, so bigger cities like Detroit, like Memphis know about HBCUs, but we need to get the word out to Black people everywhere in the US. And then there's small things that we learned that during the journey that were so exciting to me. I didn't know there was a school in the US Virgin Islands that was an HBCU, I also didn't know that, that there was an HBCU in California. So there's so many different things that were new to me that I want to make sure others know about as they're growing up, so that people can look at this as a great option, when they're looking at what schools for themselves or for their children to choose.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you started out to, how long has the HBCU Prep School been in operation now?
We just hit over a year, it officially being a business about a year. Obviously, the dream has been around a little bit longer than that, but it developed, and nurtured into what it is. And so our first book came out right around, I'll say September, October of last year is when we started pre-selling it. And right around this time is when we were first shipping it off. And we've learned and grown so much since then that it doesn't even seem like a year ago.
Yeah. So I'm curious about what are some of the great challenges that you face in the process of bringing this idea into fruition. So just talk a little bit about some of those.
Yeah. Well, some of it right now is because now we're at a great sales potential. We're just now being looked at larger retailers and larger opportunities, but they weren't really listening for us. It was hard to get through the door at first because that's one of the advantages of going with a publishing company. They already have those connections made. But I will tell you that podcasts like this and smaller, media venues have helped us to grow. We've had a couple of great viral moments. Another product that we have are these really cool flashcards that we have, on our website, and things like that have made us to talk about, around town. So around the nation. So more and more people are going, wait, I heard of that book. All right, I'm familiar with you guys. And we also know that our audience is going to really expand once we release the ABCs of Black Wall Street. There's so much opportunity there, and it's an excellent book. I'm just really excited about it. So,
yeah. So now I get to some of the questions I like to begin to ask. So you've gotten to this field, you started your company, and you've learned a lot of things along the way. All right, knowing what you know now, if you can go back and talk to yourself at the beginning, what is some advice you would give yourself?
That's a great question. I like that one. I would say that the first thing I would say is it's gonna only keep getting better. There were times where during the process, I might have been like nervous about, am I doing this the right way? Or we handle this the best way? Especially because although it's our company, this really is my wife's dream, that I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make it successful. So this is another one of our children, so we really want to make sure we're doing everything we can to make the business successful. And so I do get nervous. I'm a perfectionist, and in my corporate world, I was the same way. I wanted perfection in the corporate world, and I wasn't going to demand any less of myself within this realm. This is my first time being an entrepreneur. My wife has been an entrepreneur previously and had other businesses. So it was new for me. But that would be the first thing. And the second thing I think that I would say more than anything is talk about it immediately. I think that I have the tendency to want things to be perfect and ready to go before I start jumping out there. But now I realize that people are looking at me like, why didn't you tell me about this? Let's talk, let's get this going. People around me are dragging me around to other people. But wait, no, you need to talk to this person because they need to know about this. Or these students need to know about this. And those would be the two big things that I would say to myself now, knowing what I know. And then I would just say, actually, let me just add one more. The third one would be just keep thinking bigger. Keep thinking bigger. Because I think sometimes we limit ourselves by saying like, okay, I'm small, I'm this. There's a lot of opportunity. I'm always want to be fiscally responsible, but just keep thinking bigger about what you can do, because I think sometimes we put limits on ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. You're almost preaching to the choir here. Mm-hmm. We have a similar mission, and our podcast is in the process of growing. Yeah. And some of those things are, whenever I do these interviews, I'm always inspired by the guests and their stories. And this is definitely inspirational for what we're trying to do. But so now I'm thinking about forecasting. We're 10 years later. Where do you see the HBCU Prep School? What is your dream of how it looks 10 years from now?
Wow. I definitely see it a lot easier for people to get access to it. So when you walk into that store, I'm gonna leave it blank, so I don't change anything. But when you walk to that store, it's gonna be a lot easier to see our display in the front. It's gonna be a lot easier to pick it up, no matter where you are in the U.S., and to be able to grab a hold of it. I also see us a lot easier to get in other media. We're going to be expanding. We're not done. So we're just getting started. And I'm definitely not limiting it, but I'm being vague on purpose because we got some great things in the work. Actually, this segues into one of the things I could tell you. We had so much fun, creating the ABCs of HBCU series that we created a rap for our kids, and it's great. It's not corny. It's a lot of fun. It's my daughter and my son, my older son rapping, and my itty bitty 5-year-old's doing a little Migos background. He's doing some ad libs in there. It was so great that we took them to the studio and recorded it. Then we decided that that was so good that we wanted to do a video. So we went out, we found an HBCU grad from Howard. He was a videographer. And so we filmed a great video for it. It's accessible right now on Fanbase, which is Black owned, by the way, and also on YouTube. I want to say Fanbase first, but it's also on YouTube. Okay. And you can pull it up there to take a look at it. And so it'll show you an idea of the level that we're pushing for. My niece's 2 children are in there as some of the actors. And there's just great imagery in there. And I don't want to give away too much, but there's a little imagery of Oprah in there. There's some imagery of Booker T. There's just some great stuff in there. I'll leave it there. So please take a look at it. Okay. And you'll be able to pull up the link too with dripping stuff.
Okay. Yes, indeed. All right. So my next thing is, we're going out to a broad audience. Our audience is growing. You have this platform. How can our audience support you in achieving what you would like to achieve within the next 10 years or so?
Definitely.
What can they do tangibly?
Yeah. The first thing is buy a book. So please go right onto our website, buy a book. We have an excellent Instagram, excellent YouTube base, excellent fan base. But that the first thing is to buy a book, follow us, keep up with the fun that we're having, because we're going to be unleashing much more coming out. Stickers are already available on the website, some other great products. And I would just say the other thing too is just please tell a friend. We're doing something that's important. I'm really, really focused on buying Black. That's something that we've done in our household. We've looked at regular things, like for example, we switched our detergent to somebody that's a Black-owned detergent. We're switching some of the simple things that aren't hurting us. I'm not spending more money, right? I found a great product to replace another great product that we just used just because our parents used it, and so one of the things that we can do to our community is make sure that dollar is circulating better than it is. And I won't get into those numbers to bore you with that, but they're not great. So that's a big part of it. And then important for us is to come take a look at our website, HBCUPrepSchool.com. That's where you can find us. We're also on Fanbase. HBCU Prep School is our Instagram handle. My wife does some fun creative stuff there, but so we're easy to find.
Yeah. All right, good. You got all that in. I was going to have you drop those that website and all of that, but you did that. All right, so then let's get to some of the fun stuff that we like to do. All right, the last and final question, most important question that we like to ask here at Dripping in Black. I will set that up in a second, but I want to ask you this question, and this may help with the way we close out the episode. If you have anybody in our vast African-American history, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, so I'm gonna give you a little time, somebody in our vast African-American history who has influenced you, who would be that person or those persons?
Oh, that's a great one. It's hard to minimize that to just a few. I'm a trendsetter. I'm somebody who's up for doing something different. So one of the people I would say immediately is Deion Sanders. I think what he's doing is excellent. He's setting the pace, and I know they're trying to pull him away to some other coaching jobs, but what he's doing right now for Jackson State is not just for that school. It's for the culture. It's for our people. And it's huge. And I just want to be clear, he can make more money in other ways, but he's choosing to do what he's doing for that school and coaching that school. So that's something that's big for me too. My kids would be upset with me if I didn't say one of my favorites. We're big Black Panther families. So rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. I think that's another one that we're looking at going, wow, what you've done, you've been a trendsetter for us that's out here in his acting field and the way that he carried himself and moved forward. So those are some of the things that I talk about with my children and teach them. And those are strong role models that I talk about. And I would say the third one I would really look at, more than anybody else in that, I'm a big Bo Jackson fan. I felt like Bo Jackson was somebody who could go out there and do a little bit of everything because of the way he took care of himself, because he prepared himself and mentally he took his God-given talent and put it to work. And that's all I try to do. There's certain things I would love to do, but they're not where my skill set is. I like to take my skill set and put it to work and make it happen. So
yeah. All right. Well, cool. Thanks for indulging me with that. I know that was kind of an on-the-spot question. It's a tough one. All right, but the most important question that we ask of our podcast and all of our guests is this one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Have you ever been on the cover of a magazine?
Not yet. That's what we're looking for. So we're almost at that stage. We feel like we're ready to get on some magazine covers. So
okay. Well, we aim to please here at Dripping in Black, and so you have made it to the Dripping in Black cover.
Nice.
My producer will put your cover up for you.
Okay. I see you, HBCUs,
right.
ABCs.
Yeah. We will mock that up. That's actually going to be a parting gift for you. We print that out, laminate it, and send it out to you, and then we place people on our wall of fame in the back as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that'll be our first one. Hope there'll be even more afterwards, but this will be our first one.
Yeah, we love being the first because there's nothing like the first time, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's our thank you for coming out. And so we're going to say thanks again to Bryan Walker for joining us. Bryan Walker of the HBCU Prep School publishing business, right?
Yes, sir. That's us. We're in stores now, online.
Thanks again for joining us. We asked the audience to hang on as we finished out this episode, as always, with our final segment, The Last Drip. So thanks again to Bryan Walker.
Thank you.
Fake news, best of everything sucked with HBCU. I be this, I be that. Yeah, it sounds so elegant, but my ancestors was banned, so to me it's irrelevant. 1837, year that changed the game. Training, yeah, you can put some respect on their name. HBCU icons, should I make a list? Dr. King went to Morehouse, Du Bois hit the fist.
First by Supreme Court justice, so that made them mad. Mr. Thurgood Marshall was a Lincoln grad. Booker T repped Hampton, then founded Tuskegee, hidden figures.
Black colleges?
Yep, all three. Oprah Winfrey is a mogul, there's no debate. A self-made billionaire, repping Tennessee State. Black college, black excellence, you know what the fact is. John Lewis in good trouble at American Baptist. Vice President Harris, a Howard alum. Alice Walker went to Spelman, and so did our mom. Then the Greensboro Four from Aggie Nation. Stages sitting, giving notice to segregation.
That's creepy. Can you bring it into the 2000s?
Guess who goes to Texas Southern? Meg Thee Stallion. Illustrious HBCUs with top black professors. Chadwick Boseman went to Howard. Wakanda forever. Shout out to Bowie, FAMU, Central UAPB, Bennett, Norfolk, Meharry, Wiley, Alcorn, Bennett, Southern and Lane, Grambling, Clapham, Coahoma, Payne, Prairie View, Langston, Selma, Barber Scotia, Stillman, Clark, Fort Valley for the culture, for the ones who paved the way. You're my mood forever. HBCUs matter. They're a national treasure. Shout out to our grandma's alma mater.
Love you, Mumsy.
Savannah State, you know. What's up, Jackson State? I love.
Tougaloo. Can't forget about Morris Brown, Edward Waters,
1837.
Xavier. What's up, Morgan State?
Changing the game, y'all. There's over 100 HBCUs, y'all. We only got 2 minutes, but it's all love. We're rooting for the whole HBCU family, period.
A Drippin' in Black thanks to Bryan Walker for joining us, and we wish him much success in the future with his publishing company, HBCU Prep School. However, we have reached the final segment in our podcast called The Last Drip. The Last Drip is the last opportunity for us to squeeze in a bit more of Black excellence for you. In this final segment, we highlight a common thread between our guests and our vast and rich African-American history. For this episode, we highlight the legacy of the great John H. Johnson. Born in January 1918 in Arkansas City, Arkansas, Johnson moved to Chicago in 1932, and after graduating from high school, he got a job with the Supreme Life Insurance Company. Johnson's job of clipping magazine and newspaper articles sparked his idea to create and publish a magazine of his own. In 1942, with a $500 loan and $6,000 raised through subscriptions, Johnson launched the Negro Digest Publishing Company, which is now Johnson Publishing Company. Its first publication was Negro Digest, which remained in circulation until the 1970s. In 1945, Johnson launched Ebony Magazine, which still focuses primarily on the African-American community, its culture, and our achievements. In 1951, Johnson Publishing expanded again with the creation of Jet, a weekly magazine that celebrated African-American entertainers and public figures. Johnson overcame obstacles in funding, advertising, and overt racism while expanding his empire to include fashion fairs, cosmetics, insurance, and also producing television specials. In 1982, Johnson became the first African-American to appear on the Forbes list of wealthiest Americans. In 1996, President Bill Clinton awarded Johnson the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Along with his success in business, Johnson used his platform and influence to support the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s. for his creativity, ingenuity, and the trail that he blazed in providing positive depictions of Blacks in media. He is this episode's last drip. For much more on John H. Johnson, check out thehistorymakers.org, blackpast.org, referenceforbusiness.com, thefamouspeople.com. My thanks to all of these websites for the knowledge. And there's much more to be told about John H. Johnson than I can possibly chronicle here. So go on and check out those websites. He also has his own autobiography that he wrote of his own story. So check him out. A huge person with regards to Black media and the portrayal of Blacks in our country. The Drippin' in Black podcast can be found on most popular podcast platforms for its audio, and you can find our video version on the DIBK channel on YouTube. Remember to subscribe, comment, like, share, and to tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, you can like us and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at DIBK20. My thanks to all of our listeners, viewers, supporters, and subscribers. And until next time, be kind, be loving, and be excellent on purpose. It is a choice.
You have just experienced a Dripping in Black production.